What's up guys, AJ here, and today I have a slightly different review for you, and this is going to be about photography, more specifically the Rokinon 85mm 1.4 EF. The EF is very important in this review. So before I bought this lens, I went on YouTube and all my other sources and looked at a lot of reviews, and a lot of people were saying that this is a great lens. And so I was excited. I had the cash to buy it, and I went ahead and went out and bought it. And I went out to go on my first photo shoot with this lens, super excited. And my photos, something was wrong with them. They all kind of looked like this. And so I assumed I was doing something wrong, so I hopped on the internet again and was trying to figure out why I couldn't get this darn thing to focus. And apparently there's an adjustment that you can change on your camera to adjust where the focal point is. However, that's not the problem that this lens is experiencing. In very controlled environments, I can get this lens to focus exactly on the point that I want it to. And for instance, in this photo, I'm pointing at the 25mm mark on my meter stick, and it is perfectly focused on that 25mm. So it's not going to be one of those little micro focus adjustments. The problem with this lens is that it has major issues, and when I say major, I mean major. It has major issues focusing through the viewfinder on the Canon EF cameras. So when I went and did my research on this lens, I did not realize that most people that were creating reviews and showing what an awesome lens this is for the price, that they were using live view. Now live view focuses with a different method than your optical viewfinder, and that is a huge problem for me because I wear glasses and it's really difficult for me to have a screen this close in front of me when I'm trying to do photography and be able to focus on something this close. And so I use my optical viewfinder because I have a little dial there that I can change the focus to make it work for my glasses. And so using the optical viewfinder, I found that this lens almost always misses focus, and it's not off by a little bit. It's not off by, sometimes when you're using lenses that are wide open, like 1.4, 1.8, like, yeah, you can focus on someone's eye as opposed to like their eyelash. And it can get a little bit difficult when using the optical viewfinder to kind of make that little adjustment. It's not a small adjustment like that. It's a huge adjustment. It's like focusing 2 feet in front or 2 feet behind the object that I was trying to focus on. And what sucks is that I have no indication of this on my camera, because when I go to take a photo, I'll get my AF lock, I'll get my little flashy red box, it'll play a little sound and it'll tell me that, hey, we're good to go. And then I'll take the photo, and it looks, and through the viewfinder, through the optical viewfinder, it looks like it's in focus. But when I take the photo, it looks more along the lines of garbage. So, will this lens focus with live view? Well, yes. If I have found that when I'm using live view on my camera, it almost never misses focus. It does a fantastic job of getting, of doing a great job of getting things in focus, but I don't use live view. So that's a huge deal breaker for me. And that is going to be the main reason why I'm sending this lens back. Now, let's actually talk a little bit more about the photo quality that comes out of this lens. So there's two things that you need to be wary of. First thing being that the chromatic aberration on this lens is pretty awful. Now, chromatic aberration isn't always the biggest thing. It's not like blaring in front of your face in the photos. Usually it's like if you zoom way in, like, yeah, you can see how terrible it is. It's usually not that big of a deal, but on this lens, it's pretty bad. And I'll show some photos for you that I took pointing toward the sunlight of just how terrible that chromatic aberration is. The other thing that I noticed about this lens is that even when it does focus, it's not as sharp as I would like it to be. Now, I will have to admit, what I'm comparing this lens to is my 24-72.8. Now, this is not a fair comparison because obviously different focal lengths is a different lens, but I'm just letting you know the quality and the sharpness that I've come to expect with my lens and with my camera, that this is just not keeping up with it. And the amount of softening that I kind of see in the pictures with this lens, it's not going to work for me. You don't have to take my word for any of this though. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go out on a photo shoot and I'm going to use just this lens, and we're going to do the first part of the photo shoot using the optical viewfinder. And then when we're done with that, we're going to switch it over to, we're going to check out all the pictures, see what they look like, and then we're going to switch it over to the live view and take a bunch of photos that way, and then we'll compare and contrast and see how the photos turned out differently using the live view. So we're now on that photo shoot that I said we're going to go on. We're going to use this lens in a real life situation and see how it actually takes photos. So I've got my model Erica here, and we've got a lot of wind and a flowy dress and some harsh sunlight coming in this way. So what we're going to do is first put this lens to the test, just doing some simple shots around this greenery that we have around here. Start right here. We're just going to do something really simple for now. Maybe just kind of position yourself right in here. Yeah, sweet, just like that. And Erica, what I want you to do is point your feet towards Kaylee there, okay? Sweet, and then I just want you to look towards me. And we're just going to go ahead. I need to adjust my diopter adjustment here. Okay, you ready? Sweet. Alrighty. All right, Erica, I'm just gonna have you can keep moving around, and I want you to smile a little bit, just a little bit, and go ahead and drop your hand down by your side. We're gonna be trying to get your dress moving. Yeah, that's perfect. Look around a little bit. I want you to look down towards the ground over this way. Sorry about the leaf in your face. You can back up just a little bit. Okay, sweet. So let's take a look at how those photos came out. It is time for the nitpicking to begin. So we're going to be zooming into the eyes because that's where I'm always focusing. On this one, I accidentally focused on her left eye, but it actually got it. I'm very proud of this lens. But I'm going to throw up an image for reference, and this is just what the quality of photo that I'm expecting to see out of my 24-70. This is the sharpness that I want to see from my camera. Also, you'll notice that there's on the right side of her nose and the top side of her eye, there's a lot of chromatic aberration, that pink coming out. And that's not what you want to see on a close-up portrait. So we're going to move on down the line of these first set of photos that I took. Every single one of these photos, I focused on her eye, I got my lock, and I immediately shot the photo before she moved, before I moved. And a high majority of these ones just aren't in focus. And this one's motion blur. That one was my fault. But just the majority of these photos just are not coming out great. Her eyelashes, there's a lot of green chromatic aberration showing up on her eyelashes, and that's not something that you're going to want to go into Lightroom and edit out. And then some of these photos are just absolutely abysmal with the focus, like not even close. But we're going to give the lens another chance, and so we're going to move on to our next location and see what happens. Let me have you back. Actually, let me have you come forward a little bit. Right about there. Sweet. Alrighty. And then I want you to, can you brush this one little bit of hair right? Yep, perfect. Okay. And then close your eyes. And then in 3, I want you to open. 1, 2, 3. Alright, hold that. That is perfect. Sweet. Alright, stay right there. Close your eyes again. Okay, and then I want a big smile, and you open your eyes in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. That is perfect. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Erica, you gotta check this out. All right, so now we moved out of the shadows and we're in some direct sunlight, and I'm just going to really quickly throw the images up on screen. I was focusing on her left eye in every single one of these photos. Overall, they look really good. The colors and the bokeh and the perspective, they look fantastic. It's just quite soft, and I think you can see that when we zoom in. So let's move on to our last location, and we're going to use live view and see if that differs at all. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and switch over to the live view and see if we can get some better focus on these shots. So Erica, just go ahead and stay right there. We're not going to move anywhere from there. Now that we've added some distance between the lens and the subject, we're really starting to see this lens shine. These photos are looking pretty good, and that lack of sharpness and detail that I was looking at earlier, it really doesn't matter so much when we're doing the more full body and the like 3/4 portraits. So that's something to keep in mind when thinking about this lens, is that once we back up from our subject, the photos are looking pretty good. So, is this lens worth it? This is not a one-size-fits-all question, or answer rather. If you use live view, and if you don't mind the chromatic aberration, and if you don't really care about your photo being extremely sharp, it actually takes pretty good photos. If you forget about all those things that I just mentioned, it actually takes pretty good photos. I was very impressed with I love the 85mm focal length. The aesthetic that comes straight from the lens, it looks pretty good. However, if you use your optical viewfinder and sharpness is paramount in your photos, this is not going to be your lens. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to save up and either buy the Sigma Art 85 or just buy the Canon 85. Anyways, I hope you found that review helpful for the smaller percentage of people that use the slightly older lineup of Canon cameras and the optical viewfinder. If you liked the video, go ahead and let me know. And for now, have fun.